Now I'd like to discuss burning, another very popular token utility. It's not a utility, by the way. It's just a mechanic within the economy that you burn some tokens. It's the same as saying, minting tokens is a utility. It's not, right? First of all, but a lot of people think that it is, so we may as well cover it as a utility. Now, burning tokens very popular for people that have goofed up their tokenomics, right? For people that have emitted way too many tokens, or they want to somehow supplement the fact that they have a bad product with an appreciating token price. So let's talk about burning and what's good about it and what's bad about it and when it should be used. So burning, supply control. As I said, maybe you are minting, a lot of tokens. Maybe this is some initial kind of APY reward for stakers. Check out the staking video before this if you haven't. Maybe you're just rewarding your validators with a lot of tokens, or maybe you just have very short vesting schedules for investors or for the team, whatever it is, right? And you just have noticed that you've emitted way too many tokens onto the market. Well, burning is good to get rid of them, right? Because if you, of course, get rid of the tokens on the market, then the amount of value will be distributed between less quantity of tokens. So therefore, the token price for each individual token will be higher, which will, of course, increase your market cap and your fully diluted valuation. And by the way, that's one way that you can play around and increase your market caps and stuff like that. I don't know how legal that is, but just as a point, right, you control your supply and you reduce it by burning some of the tokens, right? So that's pretty good in fairness, right? Maybe you did overinflate the market, maybe you did over reward people, but at least you have a way to control it. Token appreciation just means that the value of the token, right, whatever the token is, the value of it will go up because, as I just said, there's less tokens on the market, which means that whenever people are buying it and trading it, there's just, the value of the token is split between less tokens, simply put. So the price of the token will grow if you're burning some tokens, but only if you're burning the tokens that are out on the market. If you have a treasury and you burn some tokens from there, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to impact anything because those tokens were not floating. They're not on the market. They're not on the exchanges. They're just in a wallet. Burning those tokens does absolutely nothing. You have to burn the tokens that are floating. Means that you have to burn some tokens that are on your, they're on the exchanges. So you have to buy some tokens and then you have to burn them. Right? Or whenever people are trading, whenever they're buying and selling, maybe there is like a buy and sell tax. Don't do that. It's very meme coiny and very scammy. But maybe there's a way that works. Maybe there's some sort of token utility, or maybe people are, for example, they lock the tokens for 6 months, but then they want to unstake earlier. So there's a tax attached. I want to unstake my tokens after 3 months only. I have to pay a 10% tax. It's only fair. I lock them for 6 months. What am I doing? Right? Maybe I pay 20% tax. If you burn those tokens, that also works because I have bought 100 tokens. Now I'm only selling 80, right? Those 20 tokens are burned. That also works. But if you have your tokens in that wallet over there and you're burning them, it does nothing, okay? You can probably see that I'm talking specifically to someone who's never going to watch this video. It does nothing, all right? So don't do that. Pointless. Unless you're doing it for marketing, which is kind of the third point, speculative buyers, right? Ties into that. If you announce that you're burning tokens, or if you have burning as a utility, that will attract speculators because speculators will see, oh, burning, that means the token price will go up, which means I'm going to buy the token now and then benefit from the appreciation. Fine, right? Speculative buyers increase the token price, which means that you can get onto better exchanges. It means that you can sell some tokens from the treasury for a higher price. It means that you can do a bigger OTC investment, whatever it is. So speculation is pretty good, right? 95, I would say, if not 99% of the market in crypto, the value of the total market cap is speculative. It's just people buying because they think it'll go higher. So it's a pretty good thing, right? You just need to make sure that you market it well, right? Again, there's the legal connotations with this. You don't want to say, oh, we're going to do a massive burn on the 2nd of August or whatever, because you are now doing it manually. I think there's a specific word in legal terms, but now you're doing it, right? You as the company are doing this. That is a problem, right? That's a problem because now people will be buying the token because they know that they will make a profit on that investment from the efforts of a third party, that third party being the company. You want to make sure that your burns are algorithmic, or for example, if there is some sort of, like for example on Ethereum, right? The burns happen automatically when people pay gas or however exactly it works, I can't recall, but it happens automatically. It's within the smart contract, that's fine, right? They're not actively going there and just being like, oh, we're going to burn 1 million tokens today. That's not good. I'm not a lawyer, don't quote me on that, but that's generally how it works. And then you have reduced velocity, right? It just means that, because people are expecting their tokens to be burned, right? Because of the token appreciation point, because of the speculative bias point, people in general will be assuming that the token will keep going up in price. So they will hold on to the token, right? They wouldn't trade it as often. They would buy it and then they just hold it. They wouldn't buy it and sell it and buy it and sell it, which means that in general, you have locked more value within the token for a longer amount of time on average, right? So it's just good for your token price. So these are the benefits. Now let's talk about the costs, of which there are a lot more. So firstly, token holders are not users. There are a lot of people that will just buy the token and they'll just hold it on their MetaMask wallet or on their centralized exchange wallet. These people have never produced any sort of value to your company. They're just buying the token and holding it. Now, yes, they do produce some sort of value, right? In the sense that there is some sentiment because you have more token holders, or there's some vanity metrics like TVL and AUM and whatever else. But they're not long-term users. They're not providing any value for you. They're just buying the token and then in 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months, they're going to dump it. What's the point of you rewarding them? That's a cost, right? Tied to that cost is the free rider problem. If you are burning tokens, you are rewarding everybody, right? Again, including the token holders who are vagrants, right? They're just there to extract value, arguably, right? They're there for speculative reasons, but if they know that you have burning as a utility, they're there for speculative reasons which are further confirmed by the fact that you'll also be burning tokens. But also you're rewarding everyone. The free rider problem is that, for example, if you have a road and the street lights on the road are broken, some of your neighbors may come together to pay for it, but no one else has to pay for it, and therefore they're free riders. They're getting the benefit of the street lamps which are repaired, but they didn't have to pay any costs. That is a free rider problem. That's unfair. It's why in the real world we have taxation. But in this case, applied here, it's you're burning tokens and every single token holder is rewarded because of token appreciation, right? The price of the tokens will go up, which means that you can't direct your rewards as accurately, right? You can't specifically target, your users or a particular type of user to reward them. You're rewarding everyone, which means that per capita, the rewards are smaller for what you're trying to achieve. For example, if you want to incentivize people to provide LP, it might be better to just give them tokens rather than, buying back tokens and burning them, which rewards everyone. It might be better to just target all of those tokens that you bought back into that group of people, and that's the source, right? Where are these tokens that you're burning coming from? For example, again, if you're buying them back and burning them, maybe it's better to buy back and redistribute them, right, to a particular category of your users. Maybe you are taxing your users, let's say there's a trading fee on your trading project, right, on your trading platform. There's a fee. You're charging your traders and then you're burning those tokens. You're rewarding everyone. You're rewarding just random token holders, but you're charging your users. Why would you do that? Right? It doesn't make sense. Right, next, borrowing becomes expensive. This is specifically for DeFi projects, but if you're borrowing some sort of capital, then you have to repay in the token. If the price of the token keeps appreciating because of the burning, then the borrowing becomes a bit more expensive. Another interesting point that applies to everyone is disincentivized activity. So you're disincentivizing people from spending the token and trading with the token because people are expecting the price of it to go up because of the burns, right? So for example, if you're on an NFT marketplace or maybe you are a perpetuals exchange, whatever it is, people are active. They, you have a lot of volume of the token that allows you to generate fees on exchanges. It's good for you to list on bigger exchanges if you have a lot of volume, but you're disincentivizing that because people they wouldn't sell the token, they wouldn't get rid of it, they wouldn't trade it with anyone, they wouldn't send it to anyone because they expect the price of it to go up. And of course, because of that, a secondary problem is the lower revenue, right? It's if there's less activity, if there's less volume, there's less revenue that you can make from your liquidity pools or from trading, whatever else the token is used for. And then another point is the optics, right? If you're just relying on the token burns to uphold your token price, probably not great. Probably means that you don't have that good of a product, right? Or you don't have that good of marketing, or maybe your competitive advantage isn't that good. So it's very, it's a very key thing. Don't just rely on burning to make sure that your token price is up. It doesn't look good. Security laws, I mentioned them before, right? But if people are investing into the token, because they expect there to be an appreciation of the token price. They expect to make a profit on their investment because of the efforts of a third party. In this case, the company burning tokens. That's not good. You need to make sure that the burns are algorithmic if you do have them. And compliance, which is, particularly for centralized exchanges, they're not really big fans of burning because of the security problems or just other problems, or like liquidity. It's hard for them to account for a lot of things. So in general, for centralized exchanges, it's not great. And if you're wanting to partner with big projects, they might want to avoid this as well. So these are all of the costs, right? These are kind of the main ones, I would say, from the economics perspective. These are the main ones from the legal perspective. And then these are quite specific for each project. And then optics is just a kind of more of a side point. So burning generally, right? The final kind of point here is when should you be burning, right? You should be burning when you have a mint and burn mechanism, right? So you're minting tokens into supply, and then you're burning them away from the supply. And a perfect example of this is Ethereum, right? They have a mint and burn mechanic. Another time you can burn tokens is, again, when you've overinflated the supply and you need to kind of balance it out again. You don't necessarily need to burn the tokens, by the way. You might just buy back a lot of tokens and you just hold them in a wallet. Technically, if you never get rid of them again, that is known as a burn. You don't actually have to delete the tokens from existence. You can just move them into a wallet that you cannot access. Right? If you can access it, obviously it's not really a burn, but if you don't, if you can access it but you're never going to, you can kind of call it a burn. Not really, on chain people can still see. Anyways, regardless. So generally for mint and burns is like the only reason you should have burning, but in certain cases you can use it as an extreme kind of I don't know the word, but like as an emergency mechanic. You can kind of keep it in your back pocket in case your tokenomics weren't designed as well as you anticipated, or maybe you didn't get as many users, or maybe you just had way too short vesting schedules, whatever it is. You can always keep burning on the back, kind of like as a back, I was going to say as a back burner, but I don't think that applies. You can keep it as an emergency tool, but don't just have burning in your economy. There are a lot of costs, and the costs are quite significant. So don't do it, generally speaking.